Howdy folks, and welcome to the Daily Coin. My name is Rory, and today is Thursday, June 9th, 2016, and I have the very distinct honor and great pleasure of welcoming back to the show Mr. Rob Kirby of Kirby Analytics, and this is a one-of-a-kind interview, so pull your boots up tight and let's get ready. About the delay.
Okay, well, it's okay. Want to give her
Everything good
anyway?
up in Canada?
Sorry, what?
Everything good up in Canada?
Yeah, we're okay here. I don't know if we're better off or worse off than you guys right now.
I know you don't have any gold as of the end of May.
I'll tell you what. The only thing that I think our saving grace is, we don't have a military like yours. Because if we did, we would likely be as loose of cannons as you guys are.
Is Trudeau, is he that crazy?
Frankly, in my personal opinion, I am neither a liberal nor a conservative. You could possibly classify me as a libertarian, but frankly, you see, I don't see any difference between any of them.
No.
All these elected people are a bunch of sellout and wannabe globalist bastards, if you ask me.
That about sums it up right there.
Yeah, and I'm so sick of it all. I'm at a point, in all honesty, I don't even know what to write anymore. I don't know what to write because. Like, how people can't see what's going on in front of our faces right now scares the living bejesus out of me.
Yeah, it's pretty terrifying. Just that what you just pointed out is the fact that people cannot see and understand how really bad everything is.
Yeah, the only thing I will say that is maybe somewhat comforting, I don't think the globalists are going to win.
I believe that as well.
Because you know what, the rise of populism and nationalism in your country, as manifested by the support for Trump, is a roadblock to the globalists. Huge.
It's huge. I agree wholeheartedly. And
there's also probably a reasonable chance that the Brits tell European Union to go fuck themselves.
Well, that's pretty much what I'm reading. I read that every day, that the Brexit movement grows stronger and stronger, and Remain grows weaker and weaker.
Yeah. So that is also another roadblock to this globalist steamroller.
Yeah, I mean, and you've got all of these different movements all over Europe. I mean, you've got what's going on. You've got Le Pen in France, and you've got, there's an right wing group that I just read about. I can't remember their name, in Germany, and what's going on in Greece. I mean, it's in Spain. With the Catalonians seceding last year.
Yeah, and frankly, I don't think countries are going to throw away. I mean, I wish my country understood it better, or that it got properly reporting in our media. But our media is as bad as yours. But the how countries and how leaders of countries can toss their sovereignty on a scrap heap in favor of this tyrannical, sociopathic. For the life of me, I never even used to talk about what I do in these terms, because everything that I really did in the beginning was all about the economic aspects of it. But all I was ever doing was covering the economic aspects of the globalist enterprise.
Right.
But there's way more to it than economics. There's the social side of it, where they basically want to destroy the family. They want people to view the state as their caregivers, and the perversion of kids. And these people all at the top are all sick pedophiles for the most part, or they're into kink like Billy Clinton and the rape machine. It's like the whole thing is just so sick.
One of the things that I was introduced, that Sean actually introduced me to, was the idea of the spiritual warfare, and that it's really us against evil. I mean,
Yes.
it's the
Yes.
same people. Same people are really faced with, how do you confront this massive pile of evil that we are confronted with every day? And it's just like, my God.
I know, and it's, you know what, and Rory, there are so many people that just can't get their head into it, or remain close-eyed. Yeah, and the other thing too, I honestly do feel perceptibly that we are on the threshold of a complete and utter, like, not a slow burn, like something seismic is going to happen here. I honestly believe literally any day now, and our financial edifice is gonna shatter.
You think that the people controlling the levers are actually going to allow that to happen? I mean,
Yes, I think they're gonna turn the algos off. I think they're gonna take this ridiculous price suppression that's been going on in the metals and the propping up of the stock market, and I think they're gonna turn the computers off.
how would that benefit them? I mean, because that's the only way that I could see that they would do it.
Well, listen. It literally amounts to this: the policies that they have in place right now, like where $10 trillion worth of sovereign debt in Europe is trading at negative interest rates, is causing such mislocations, misallocations. It's causing so much bad, because they're going to blow up it. Listen, with yields that negative, they're going to blow up every pension fund.
Yep.
They're going to blow up every insurance company. Understand, these institutions are mandated that they have to buy that debt. You're going to kill them all. So you see, have you ever heard the saying? If you wanna improve your lot in life, like when you're digging a hole, sometimes like the best thing you can do is to put down the shovel.
Yep.
And I actually think these crazy maniacal bastards at one point are going to look at each other and say, you know what? We have to put the shovel down.
Do you think they have that much sanity left inside their?
I actually think
skulls?
I think that they will try other things, because you know what? They're digging themselves a hole where the sky is starting to look like a real small dot above them.
I mean, Dave Kransler, I don't know if you ever listened to any of the rants that he and I do, but he thinks that they're going to take us to war, which unfortunately, I kind of see that as well.
They might, but barring the complete war option, I think they're going to turn the algos off.
I wanted to ask you, Rob, about the ESF, the Exchange Stabilization Fund. Now, that's been really the tool that they've used to create all of this nightmare.
That's right.
How would that play into your idea of them turning the algos off?
It's going to be people in the administration that say we have to go in a different way. You see, I have never been, or for years, I believe that it's not the Fed that makes monetary policy at all. The Fed does not set interest rates. Listen, the Treasury is in charge of everything. The guy who should be on the hot seat is Jack Lew. And if you think Janet Yellen is anything other than, and she's not pretty, but if you think she's anything other than a pretty face or a figurehead, I don't know if you've ever watched the expose on the ESF that Eric de Carbonell did. And if you haven't watched it, you need to watch it. Like, I've watched it at least 12 times. I get something new out of it every time I watch it. I should watch it again. I haven't watched it in a few months. And in it, he says, and he documents, and he lays out, and he shows how the Exchange Stabilization Fund makes all policy, anything to do with economic policy for the United States of America is made up or contrived in the U.S. Treasury, and specifically by the Exchange Stabilization Fund to enforce and enact anything that goes on. The reason, you see, the Exchange Stabilization Fund and the Treasury, they use the Fed as their fall guy. They want the Fed to get all the attention. They don't want the attention at the Treasury. They want, you see, but understand the relationship. The Federal Reserve, and specifically the New York Federal Reserve, acts as the broker for the Exchange Stabilization Fund. The New York Fed disseminates all ESF orders into the market through their select banks, predominantly 5 of them, the big 5. So when the ESF, when the Treasury decides that interest rates were going to 0, they put the orders through the New York Fed to go into the swap market and start doing interest rate swaps, making banks captive buyers of bonds. And they did short-dated swaps with called FRAs, and those orders were routed through the New York Fed. And I'll tell you something. The banks, when they were doing these trades, and we know what the size of them were because they're all recorded for posterity at the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency in their quarterly derivatives reports. When you see an institution in 2008 like Morgan Stanley strap on $8 trillion worth of swaps when they were insolvent. They were insolvent. Morgan Stanley was the most insolvent institution on the planet in 2008, and yet they strapped on $8 trillion worth of credit instruments on their derivatives book in 3 months. $8 trillion in 3 months. You know what? Morgan Stanley couldn't borrow $10 million on an overnight basis then. How in the fuck did they do $8 trillion? So that tells you who they did the trades with. They did the trades with the ESF. Because what that was, that $8 trillion blow up in their book, was a stealth recapitalization of Morgan Stanley. Full stop. That's all it was. You know why they had to stealth recapitalize them? Because nobody would buy them. They tried to sell them. They got B of A to take Merrill Lynch, and they managed to wipe out Lehman, which really was a stealth recapitalization of J.P. Morgan. They murdered Bear Stearns because they were buying metal. And then they had this problem with Morgan Stanley. They couldn't find anybody stupid enough to buy them, so they had to recapitalize them. And you see, I know this because I used to broker all these swaps. The guys who created these swaps were my client.
Okay.
And I know how they settle. And I know, for instance, like if I do $100 million 5-year interest rate swap bank to bank, it takes 10 minutes in a lot of cases to just get the credit to get the trade done. Morgan Stanley was the shittiest credit in banking circles in 2008, and they grew their swap book by $8 trillion in 3 months. You know, I'll tell you what is more likely. I'm honestly telling you, it's more likely that you can put an elephant and a giraffe through a garden hose than for them to have actually done legitimate $8 trillion in business with any banking counterparts. That business was all done with the ESF, and the Fed was in the middle of the trades, because they were the broker. And like, I mean, for the love of Jesus, why can't people? You know what the funny thing is, Rory?
What's that?
I cannot find one person on the planet to debate me on this. There isn't one person who will discuss it. I did talk one day about 4 years ago. I talked to a guy at Morgan Stanley, and I told him, and I asked him, I said, "Do you know what an interest rate swap is?" He said, "Kinda." I said, "Like, do you understand it's a credit instrument?" He said, "Yeah, I understand that." I said, "Like, do you know that in a 3-month period back in 2008, when your institution was under heavy pressure, and like was looking like you wouldn't be around maybe in a few months. Like, do you realize that your swap desk managed to put on $8 trillion worth of these interest rates, medium-term swaps in a 3-month period? The guy nearly threw up. He said, "You're full of shit." I said, "No, I'm not. I can show you exactly where it happened." This is a guy from Morgan Stanley.
Oh my goodness.
So anyway, that's how badly and how perverse everything really is.
So that's why, I mean, you said that the New York Fed was really the main Federal Reserve office. Is that why they have?
The New York Fed is the trading arm of the Federal Reserve.
They have that trading desk there.
And that trading desk serves as the broker for the U.S. Treasury.
Okay.
But the decisions are all made at the Treasury. And I understand the broker function because I was a broker to banks. I had direct phone lines to the trading desks of all banks. And our firm did for all banks all around the world. So I know the way orders get disseminated through a brokerage conduit. The other thing too, who would tell me a bank that would take $8 trillion of notional in risk? What counterparties would you think the bank would allow? To begin with, if I'm the president of a bank and I find out that somebody in my treasury has grown a book by $8 trillion in 3 months, I'd fire every one of them.
That would certainly raise some questions, I would think.
I don't know. I would just outright fire the whole. I would close the unit down. They of course they knew what they were doing. Yeah. They did not want to declare. They did not want to have Morgan Stanley declare bankruptcy. Okay, because if Morgan Stanley had declared bankruptcy, they would have had to shutter the banking system, and the price of gold would have been at $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000 in 3 or 4 days. And you see, I'll tell you one thing. All they've done, hiding things and lying and extending and pretending, they have not altered what the final outcome is one iota bit. All they've done is delayed, and you know what? And by delaying it, and by being deceptive, and by telling bigger and bigger and bigger financial lies, all they've assured is that when it happens, it'll be bigger, and it's gonna happen. And you know what? I don't think this whole globalist train can stay on the tracks I don't even think it's going to stay on the tracks over the next month and a half. Listen, if Britain votes to leave, the European Union's in shambles. So kiss globalism goodbye. Right now, it looks like Donald Trump is unstoppable, which means they will assassinate him. But you see, what they don't understand, when they assassinate, and they will, when they assassinate Trump, what they're going to find out is that Trump is not really about a person; it's an idea. And ideas,
like Constitution.
Ideas are bulletproof.
I've been curious about what kind of reaction, because I still have been saying, I've been saying for over a year that Hillary was going to be the next president, and I still believe that. And I've been curious as to how the people are going to respond, come November the 5th when Hillary's announced as the president, and barring the fact that what you just said, as far as Donald Trump being assassinated. I mean, I think that either one of those that plays out is going to set off a firestorm. Yeah. I think it'll be rioting and chaos and people just completely losing their mind. Is that what you're seeing, or do you see orderly situation?
I think your country could be Mad Max by November.
Mad Max by November. Well, I don't really like the sound of that too much, Rob.
Listen. If you think I'm just picking on America,
no, I know you're not.
I don't think things are going to be great here either.
I don't think that. I think the way that everything's kind of aligning, I don't think it's going to be safe anywhere. I mean, like what we were talking about a minute ago, everything that's going on in Europe with the people are pissed off over there. They got 10 million, or estimates as high as 10 million refugees that have been unleashed onto them. With the rape and the carnage that we read about all the time, as far as what's happening there, and the way that they're just destroying neighborhoods. I mean, it's insane. And of course, the people are going to retaliate. Of course, they're going to, at some point, they're going to stand up in mass and say, well, hold on.
Anyway, and that's the whole thing. And you know what? And that's why your country is starting to bubble with this nationalist sentiment, is because everyone everyone knows they're being screwed.
Yes.
And that's what's catching hold in Europe. And you know what? And even the Brits get it. Like, everyone understands. We've been sold out by leadership. You know, the people that are in positions of power they are globalists, and they have contempt for humanity.
Yes.
And they don't. Yes. Well, no, they view us. They actually view us as a disease on the planet that they feel that they're empowered or charged with getting rid of. Their goal is to reduce our population. That is one of their key goals. Get the population of the planet back down to 500 million or so, which means, 6.5 billion people that are currently on the planet are shit out of luck.
They got to go somewhere. According to their plan.
That's right. Anyway, the whole thing is beyond scary. And the whole thing, you know what the hardest part is to actually get your head around to actually accepting that this is reality, because you can't make this stuff up.
Right. You can't make it up.
You can't make this up. It's off the charts. It's in your face, and you know what? Either this thing is going to get knocked down or knocked back, or humanity is going off a cliff. One or the other. And right now, I'm thinking it might get knocked back. As dark as all this talk and chatter that we're having right now is, I think there's a good chance it gets knocked back. You know why? I think there's enough people. I think there's enough people awake and enough people that are pissed off that realize how badly they've been screwed.
I think that you're right there. I mean, there are definitely people that are awakening to the situation, and they are, from what I can tell, they're pretty pissed off. I mean, and now you've got the situation where the people that are quietly angry, that are going to the Trump rallies are being attacked by bought and paid for thugs. Exactly. And it's like, okay, you're just fueling the fire of the quietly angry crowd. It's like they're not going to remain quiet. They're not going to remain quietly angry very much longer before they start retaliating. And I mean, do you think that that's part of the program as well? I mean, because that's sure what it looks like.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. If I'm a globalist, I would seriously start to be really being very concerned about my own safety, because at some point it makes sense to me that these people are all going to become targets.
Yes.
And there will be a response at some point, and these people will be hunted like dogs.
Couldn't agree more. I think that may be why, it's close to a year ago that there was a prepper guy that owns a preparedness store, and he wouldn't give his name, but he was saying that all of these high net worth people were wiping him out. They were buying his store out literally on a daily basis, and It was just I think that some of the smarter ones are probably already in hiding. Not in hiding necessarily, but they've retreated to the bunker.
Well, or at least they have bunkers, and they're provisioned, and they're prepared to bug out at any time. Yeah. A lot of them, yes. But you know what? One thing globalism has sort of taught me is that the world's a very small place.
Yes, it is.
And I'll tell you, I don't think those rats will have enough places to hide, because you know what? All it takes is a good rat terrier to find a rat in its rat hole. And you know what? And they're all going to be sniffed out. They will all be sniffed out because the world is a small place. And you know what? Good luck. Good luck to them hiding.
Yeah, I don't
Good
think
luck.
it'll last. I don't think it'll work. I really don't. I don't think
Anyway,
it'll work. What do you think? What are your thoughts on this treasonous, blood-soaked hands Hillary Clinton still walking around free, and not just walking around free, but begging for votes in front of the American people instead of begging for mercy in front of a judge?
well, in my view, it's very likely that at some point she is going to be indicted, and I do think, even after Trump is assassinated, there's going to have to be some repercussions for Hillary. I mean, and there will, and in all honesty, the by your country's justice system to allow her to continue walking free is only making your country look more and more and more like a banana republic every day.
Every day we get
Yeah.
we slip further and further into that hole,
Yep.
and the world sees it more and more
Yep.
every day.
It's done. It's already, in my view, done irreparable harm to your country.
Yes, I agree.
And it scares me. That whole thing scares me, and because it tells me when I see this, it tells me that America doesn't really have any real friends, and everybody who appears as a friend to America will turn on America and walk away from them on a moment's notice.
Just like Saudi Arabia did recently.
Well, I mean,
when they threatened, they said, "Well,
yeah.
Obama, we're going to blackmail you, and if you don't, if you consider or sign off on releasing those 28 pages, and it implicates us, then we're going to unleash $750 billion worth of treasuries onto the market. So good luck with that."
Yeah, and the whole, frankly, the notion that Saudi Arabia would be pointing a finger, like, that tells you how perverse the world is.
Exactly.
Saudi Arabia, the incubators of jihad, are wagging a finger at America. No, you know what? America deserves to have fingers wagged, but I mean, holy God, coming from them, from a country that hoods its women and sanctions routine beatings and rapings. I mean, give me a break. Is that the pot calling the kettle black?
These are our friends. These are our pals, our buddies.
It's brutal, but you know what? We are at a boiling point here, and so we're either just gonna, the pot's gonna either, there'll be no water left in it. It's gonna crack because the pot's been boiled dry. The pot will crack. Something here is going to break. Something is going to break. Something's going to break imminently. This and you know what? And leadership knows it's going to break, which is why they've been having these extraordinary meetings. They're telling us it's going to happen. They're screaming from the rooftops that it's coming.
What do you think? Go ahead.
It's a guaranteed layup. It's going to happen.
What do you think about what's going on with the gold market right now? I mean, it seems like it's on the brink of getting away from them as far as the manipulation.
No, look, they right now, as long as they got the algos turned on, they can control the price. The minute they turn the algos off, you see, I honestly feel that at some point when you run these algo programs to suppress the price of metal, you actually do still require some physical to put in the market to make your lie believable. And at some point, they will get to a point where they don't have that physical to expend, or they'll get to a point where they have so little of it left that they know it's just more gas for the fire. And at some point, they will stop. At some point, you see, the people who've been selling paper gold will actually turn around and buy it themselves.
Well, they'll have to because they won't be able to get it anywhere else.
Because America doesn't have any gold.
Correct.
And at some point, it will be an absolute Donnybrook free for all, and everybody will be trying to buy it. And that's when the currency will turn to tapioca. It'll turn to dust, and it will happen very quickly. You know, once your Federal Reserve or your Treasury starts buying gold, the fucking game ends on a fucking snap. It's like the game of musical chairs, and the music stops, and they will be forced to it.
What are your thoughts on what's going on? What's happened, in the last few days over here at the COMEX with an additional 1,020 tons of gold added to June deliveries since June 2nd?
What do I think about COMEX? I don't trust anything they publish. I know that the prices that they call it price discovery. That price discovery mechanism is a fraud.
Yes.
So what do you think? So then the next logical question is, what do I think of the data they produce? Very likely fraud. Do I believe the COT report? No. But do I know that people are demanding physical metal? Yes. I'm plugged into that side of the equation, and I know that the physical market is very well bid. And I know it, and I also know and believe that this whole thing with fiat money being produced at ever increasingly faster rates and bigger volumes. And the supply of fiat money in the world is growing at a vertical rate. And, precious metal is very finite with the amount that comes out of the Earth's crust every year. And, you can't have fiat money growing vertically around the world and precious metals being held in check forever. Doesn't work.
Doesn't work that way.
Doesn't work. That dog does not hunt. So, and for people who want to, like if Jeffrey Christian wants to spout, or Dennis Gartman, or John Nadler, or any of these clowns, any of these clowns that want to tell me that the laws of gravity have been repealed because they said so, I just don't care. If Jeffrey Christian says that when you drop a plate, it should fall up. Good luck, Jeff.
So it's inconsequential that what's happened over there in the last few days is meaningless.
I know. I don't want to say it's meaningless. Listen, before a body dies, a body can do some pretty crazy things. My mom died just over a year ago. She was very, very, very sick, and what I witnessed in her last sort of 48 hours of life tells me that you can see some very, very strange things before the light goes out. And, it would make sense to me that we would see some pretty, maybe possibly some rude aberrations or some rude movements before this thing goes into its complete death phase. But I think we're palpably close to it right now. I mean, I can feel it. I don't think we exit this summer without a major financial crisis. Something off the charts. Something that we've never witnessed before in likely recorded history.
Well, it would almost have to be because of what started in 2008, and it certainly hasn't been addressed. It's only been made 100 times worse. And and now we're starting to see, another housing situation, and now we have, on top of the housing market that is teetering at best, we have $1 trillion worth of student loans. We have $1 trillion worth of auto loans. All of this new, and that's all since 2008. So you've got all that added on top of everything that's happened. I mean, it's just
I'll
be
tell you, Rory,
anything other than
what I'm witnessing here in Canada. I live in Toronto, and housing prices in Toronto, and it's not just Toronto, it's probably more so in Vancouver, but at least in Toronto and Vancouver, housing prices have gone up so much, so fast, because I mean, people are climbing over themselves to buy homes, and they're climbing over themselves because the cost of money is basically at zero, and people think nothing about taking over $1 million mortgage. People go out and buy a home for $2.4 million. You know, maybe they put down $400,000. They'll carry $2 million worth of mortgage, and they think that these conditions will last forever. You know, and you see, fundamentally, you can't price capital at zero forever,
right,
and have any kind of a productive economy, because human capital doesn't work for zero.
right.
And you see, and that sort of puts the fly in the ointment, because that is not a sustainable practice. You see, when you price capital at zero and you live on a planet with finite resources, those two things don't coexist well together. And and I tried to explain it to a banker last week. I said, you know, if you go to a big party and if you put a big bowl of cocaine in the middle of the table and tell everybody it's open season, like, a lot of people are going to die because they're going to snort themselves to death, because zero cost on too much candy, and you know, you got a big problem. Well, that's the problem the world's dealing with right now. Frankly, that's the problem our financial system is dealing with right now. Because our financial system has snorted the cocaine. It's gone. And you know what? And now they need another bowl. And when that one's gone, they're going to need another bowl. And when that one's gone, they're going to need another bowl. And because you see, you know, this way of abuse, it doesn't end until, you know, the body expires, because people who are hooked on it are screwed. It's like somebody who's an alcoholic and can't stop.
Exactly.
You drink until you sort of get caught and people know that you drink under the table, or you just drink until one day you just die.
None of them are good options.
Well, that's our predicament right now financially. And you know what? And that's why I lean a little bit towards there will come a day when these guys will put the shovel down, because they're going to realize they're digging, like they're going in the wrong direction. I do think they'll bottom out. I think they're going to have a come to Jesus moment, or a come to Allah moment, or a come to something moment. It'll be a religious experience for them.
Yeah.
Even if it's they turn around and say a big prayer to Lucifer, which might be likely. But this is where I think we're at. I think we are so freaking close to the end of this right now. And I'll just tell you, boy, this period in time, assuming humanity goes forward, this period in time will be written up. And what they're going to say about the people of this time is, you know, what the were we all smoking? And you know, how did we ever allow this to get like this? But anyway, it's very, very, very interesting.
It is interesting.
Very, very interesting. Yes, yeah, and frankly, in my view, because I think we're so close to the end of this, like, you know, my view on where the price of metals could be, boy. My view on like where silver could be by the end of the year, you know what? You'd laugh if I told you.
Well, let's have a good laugh.
Hundreds.
Multiple.
Yeah, multiples. Okay. Hundreds.
I hope you're right.
There's a part of me that knows it's coming, and there's another part of me that says, what the hell is the world going to look like when it happens?
That's the other that's the other side of the coin, if you will. What is it going to look like? Because if we have hundreds of dollars silver, we're going to have a pretty ugly place to be in it. And that Mad Max
Yeah.
scenario you said, that very well could be it.
Well, let's put it this way. When we have hundreds of dollars silver, and I don't know how many, but maybe it's quite a few hundreds, or more than a few hundreds. Does that mean that Donald Trump is dead? Does that mean that there's been a nuclear exchange? Does that mean that the Eurozone has broken up? Does that mean that America's in a civil war? Does that mean look, the list can get pretty long.
Yes, it can.
But you know what? None of them with things that you really would wish on anyone.
No, because we don't. I've long said that's a world I don't really want to see.
That's unfortunately, that's the world that we're racing towards at breakneck speed. So anyway, things are going to get silly. And you know what, though? The only thing is, it to me, it also makes some logical sense that, you know what, we are going to have to go back to some sort of a linking money to metal standard, because you know what, it has proven metal standards, or a bimetal standard has proven through history that it offers the most sustainable model, for money. It's amazing. As a friend of mine was saying yesterday to me, he said, because we were talking about gold versus silver, and he said the reason why silver is suppressed way more brutally than gold is because silver has been money longer than gold. Silver's been money much longer than gold, and and the history's there. And there were great periods of time when silver was like when the gold silver ratio. People talk about people who understand mining and can read a book and look at how much gold comes out of the earth in a year and how much silver comes out of the earth in a year. Like, for every ounce of gold that comes out, 10 ounces, roughly 10 ounces or maybe 9 ounces of silver come out of the Earth's crust.
Right.
And, how we can have a price, the price of silver at 1/75th the price of gold is also not a sustainable issue, especially when investment demand is as robust as it is for silver right now, and it's growing. So that ratio is not possible. But for great periods of time, the gold silver ratio was like 3-to-1, 2.5-to-1. A great trade. I don't even know exactly how to put it on, because I wouldn't want to necessarily do it with futures, because you'd end up with margin calls, and you'd be basically priced out of your own trade if you tried to actually put it on. But just looking at the delta, like the delta at 75-to-1 is too big. It's not sustainable in nature. That also is sort of like plates falling up thing. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I mean, you can jerry rig a false system with fans and things to make the plate look like it's falling up, which is what they've done in the gold silver ratio. Basically, it's a hoax. It's an illusion.
An illusion.
It's an illusion, and it's perpetrated with fiat money that the people that are creating it have no cost associated with creating it. You see, and the other thing that people just can't also wrap their head around, that there are people that engage in trade in paper metal that do so with the intent of losing money.
That's a hard concept for most rational people to wrap their head around.
Yeah, but that is part of the cost of doing business and maintaining the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. And you see, when you can create money digitally at no cost,
yeah,
and you can do that. And then people say, well, yeah, but you'd run out of money. No, you don't run out of money, particularly if you don't have accounting.
Right. Yeah, if you don't even own a ledger sheet, I mean, you can't run out.
So, and people say, well, big American banks, they can go bankrupt. Well, in theory, yeah. I mean, really, in the real world, if you or I run out of money, we go bankrupt.
Yes.
But when, for instance, like when Morgan Stanley was insolvent in 2008, they got the waiver. And the waiver says that publicly traded company doesn't have to reflect its true financial condition if it's in the interest of national security. So they got the pass. So Morgan Stanley didn't have accounting, but they held Bear Stearns to a different standard. Bear Stearns did have accounting, so they went bankrupt. Lehman Brothers was a special situation where J.P. Morgan needed a whole lot of money infused into them, and they sacrificed Lehman on the altar so they could recapitalize J.P. Morgan. So I mean, it's real funny. Like, so some institutions have accounting and some don't. Geez, and it's funny. The ones that disappear are the ones that have accounting.
Funny
how that works, eh?
Anyway, what are you seeing? I know you are a gold broker, Rob. What are you seeing and hearing from your customers?
It's tight markets. It's tight markets.
What's that?
Very tight markets, and there are wait times to get product.
Really?
So, yeah, have been for listen, off and on. It's been like that for quite a while. A guy I know quite well. He's the biggest coin dealer in Canada. He's the biggest dealer of the Royal Canadian Mint, and he's had to have curtailment in shipments of certain products. They just say not available until further notice.
Okay.
Anyway, and isn't it funny? Bank of Montreal trying to get into the gold space, announcing a new fund. I mean, just think how dystopic all this really is. Our country in the last year sold off whatever pittance of sovereign gold we had, and they had it, with fanfare. And now you got the Bank of Montreal saying they're going to start a gold fund. But we're not. But our gold fund's going to be different than other gold funds in that we're not going to do all these dirty tricks that the other guys are doing. Is that funny? Is that funny?
Oh, we're a bullion bank, but we're not going to act like those other bullion banks.
Yeah, like did you read that? It was Chris Powell put out a data release on that just this morning or last night. Whenever I read it, and it's like, you can trust us because we're not going to do all those dirty things like double counting and rehypothecating or leasing like the other guys do. We're going to do ours clean.
We're the good guys.
Oh my God! Listen, I said it earlier. You know what, Rory? You can't make this stuff up.
You can't make it up.
You can't make it up. I mean, it's unreal.
It is. It's beyond the pale, as they say.
Yeah. We figured there's some money in this gold thing finally at the Bank of Montreal, but you know what? We're gonna actually be honest. Yeah.
Oh Lord.
I'll tell you, Rory. One thing that I do know, that having just the experiences, it's very difficult to find an honest gold merchant. Anyway, there are not many honest gold merchants around.
Well, now the people that I did conduct business with, are you talking about at an institutional level, or are you talking about across the board, or in general?
I'm talking about at an institutional level.
Okay, yeah, I can certainly see that.
Yeah, as George Carlin says, it's a big club, and we ain't in it.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's it. Well, Rob, I could talk to you the rest of the afternoon. But I know you got stuff to do. I got stuff to do. I hope we can get on the line a lot sooner than a little shorter time than the last time. You're a good man. You do good work. And you can find
Hey,
all of Mr. Kirby's work over at kirbyanalytics.com. Rob, certainly appreciate all your time and all your knowledge.
thanks so much. Have a good one, dude.